I'm Edie Lush, and I'm here in the Hub Culture Pavilion in Davos at the World Economic Forum. Very pleased to be joined now by Michael Meehan, the CEO of the GRI. Thanks very much for coming along.
Thanks for having me, Edie.
So tell me, isn't reporting just a huge burden and more red tape for businesses?
Well, absolutely not. So there's definitely a lot of calls for data from organizations around the world, not only corporates, but also governments as well. But it's not really a reporting burden, it's more of a data burden. So these organizations are really besieged for data from all sides, not just sustainability, human rights information, environmental information, but also, HR information, financial information. And so after a while, it all starts to become a bit much. So one of the ways that organizations see reporting sometimes is, they call it reporting fatigue, but it's really sort of data fatigue. The interesting thing about reporting, though, and of course our organization has thousands of reporters in 93 countries around the world, but it's not the report, is not the goal. The goal is the process by which organizations understand and communicate their commitment to important sustainability issues like human rights information or labor information, environmental information, climate change. So understanding an organization's position on these important issues is incredibly important to everybody within the business. So it's a report may be the outcome, but it's definitely not what's valuable about the process.
Can you give me an example of where you've seen a company change as a result of what they've done through your reporting? Yeah,
absolutely. So as I mentioned, we've got thousands of companies, and the reason they do this, of course, is not to get that report. A great example is we have a Spanish member of our stakeholder group called Gas Natural, and as part of, and they've been a reporter for a very long time, and one of the things that they were required to report on were how many people get injured or fatally injured sometimes on their grid. Not something that, it's not always their fault, of course, but as the standard, we want to make sure that this information is out there. So they started doing this many years ago, which was just a number in their report, number of injuries, number. And then over some time, the CEO started to see this information, shareholders started to see this information, stockholders, and employees, and they started to say, well, boy, that's actually a number, right? And are there ways to reduce that? And now, today, Gas Natural is one of the leaders in this space of harm reduction, actually reducing the number of fatalities and injuries that occur on this very, very large grid that they have. So you actually see an example of lives being saved by organizations knowing the risks around the things that they do. And that's the idea around the reporting process. Very, very different than saying, oh, not another report.
We're coming up, in fact, to the anniversary of the tragic factory fatality in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
I wonder if you have any thoughts about how companies have changed in their reporting and their sustainability since that incident. Yeah,
absolutely. This is another, I don't want to say it's a great example, right? I mean, it's definitely a horrible example. But that is an example of how organizations really do need to have a better understanding of the risks within their organization and within their supply chain to ensure that these problems are transparent and brought to the top. It's not that organizations, report to get something. They're reporting because they need visibility into these important issues.
Michael, thank you so much for stopping by the Hub Culture Pavilion here in Davos, and I'm Edie Lush.